What's up, guys? We are finally concluding our matchup series. Well, for round one, of course, for now. And that, with that being said, the Colorado Avalanche, the Stanley Cup favorites for this year, um, versus the Nashville Predators. So the regular season stats. Again, I'm gonna say this again and over again. Colorado 1-1-2 and Nashville 2-1-1. This does not necessarily mean that the team with the better regular season record is going to win the Stanley Cup. Just shows you where they're matched up in terms of, as competitors, I guess, in terms of like what to expect in a playoff series. Um, the thing is, though, and I know you guys are probably going to be like, the series is over. UC Saros missing the first two games of this matchup is going to hurt this team like crazy. We all know that Saros is a fantastic goalie. In my mind, he's a top five goalie in the league. Having Pekarene as a mentor and him being the successor, I
Yeah.
think you can't ask for anyone better to have than Yossi Saros. But having David Riddick or Connor Ingram as your potential starters for not only the playoffs but against the Colorado Avalanche, the juggernaut of the series, holy crap! What's gonna happen to Nashville? Do we say that this is a complete sweep for for the Colorado Avalanche, or is this gonna be you know an interesting series where we see that the Nashville Predators actually put up a fight, and maybe a guy like Riddick or Ingram actually surprises the hockey world and shows how competitive they are.
I
I
mean,
mean,
listen, it's possible. Highly unlikely, though.
I'm not a big fan of David Riddick, and his numbers don't.
He used
Um,
to be a great goalie, though. I don't know what happened.
I don't like David Riddick, bro, and
He was
I'm gonna
pretty
be
good with
honest,
Calgary.
his numbers suck.
We have Elijah here, saying we're never winning a Stanley Cup. I don't know if he's referring to Colorado or
No,
No, he
Nashville.
Nashville.
said
He says he's a
Predators.
Preds
As
fan.
a Predators fan, I'm scared. But hey,
Okay.
look, we'll say one thing about Nashville. As a Nashville fan, like I'm talking to you, Elijah, you should be very proud that Johansson and Duchesne have finally lived up to their contracts and they're playing very, very solid hockey. No one would have thought that these guys would have had the seasons that they had. They were most likely going to be bought out last offseason, and if they would have continued to play poorly, probably get bought out this offseason or probably traded. But luckily, they really stepped up their game, and they're a huge reason why they're in a playoff position. You know,
Also, the fact that Philip Forsberg is staying, and
for now, we don't know if he's going to sign an
Tanner
extension.
Ginot, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly, is a hell of a surprise this season.
Yeah, rookie season two. He's a top, I would say, 10 rookie this year in terms of points. He's not going to be a candidate, and he's not going to win it. But having the season that he had is very impressive. He's a key factor as well. Michael Granlund as well, a very good season with Nashville. JT Miller, go Habs. And we want to say thank you, and more like go Habs, you go for the lottery draft at this point.
but uh,
Um,
but no, I think for Nashville, like I think, look, they're a good team. I think they had a decent season this year too. Obviously, Saros was the big reason why they were so successful. Obviously, Matt Duchene career year. Philip Forsberg has a career year as well. Roman Yossi, who can forget about him? Norris Trophy, in my opinion, should be the Norris Trophy
Oh
winner.
yeah, definitely, definitely. He's my pick to
Um,
win the Norris this year.
right,
96 points in 80 games.
Yeah, for
and
a
I think
defenseman, it's
And
nuts.
I think too, like, look, Granlund had a great year, 64 points for him. Johansson 63. They had a lot of guys that really played really well, which is something to be proud of. I think if you're a Nashville fan, obviously Tomasino first full year in the NHL, 32 points for him is in his rookie season. I think that's impressive as well. The only problem with Nashville, and I'm gonna be honest, is Saros being out, and that's going to be a big problem for them because this team's a good team. I think on paper they're a good team. I think a lot of guys are playing up to potential. Matt Duchene scored 43 goals this year. So
Tomasino, well, as well. He's a rookie this year. Pretty
yeah,
Very
impressive.
very
32
underrated,
points.
honestly.
Yeah,
I
very
said
underrated. You have Alcom on defense, 31 points in 76 games. Sissons, 28 points. Fabro, 24. Uh, the only thing I would say is pretty disappointing someone that I thought would have been a crucial part to Nashville's success, Tolvanen. I thought he would have been a great player like 2 years ago, or was it last year? I don't remember. He was putting up some really good points, and for him to have 23 points in 75 games, that's not really
Yeah.
impressive whatsoever. And
Well,
who can forget Chris's favorite player of all time, Michael McCarron, 14 points, 51 games. Pretty impressive for him, you know.
Guy's a
Uh,
joke.
but looking at Nashville, clearly they're not the favorites. Colorado, obviously, are the favorites to win this series and probably the favorites to win the Stanley Cup. But again, you never know what could happen. There's always surprises every year, and always the teams that are like, the best teams on paper, always somehow find a way to disappoint and not reach expectations. But on paper, you look at Nashville, they're a pretty good mix of youth and a veteran presence, and they're not even that old in terms of veterans. And but I love their chemistry. I love how they're coached. And out of the two teams that made it in terms of the wild card positions, Nashville is a team that from day one deserved it. And I think that they're going to put up a fight. But I think if Saros is not there to, eventually kind of save them or kind of keep them grounded in terms of fighting or keeping up with the Colorado Avalanche, I would say that they get swept or lose in 5 games. But if Saros is there, I think anything is possible. And I think Nashville could head towards 6 games. But I do see Colorado winning this series and moving on.
well,
Well,
I
yeah,
think
that's I mean pretty much a no-brainer.
I
I mean,
I
listen, if you're betting on the Nashville Predators to beat Colorado, you're sick.
I think one of the biggest things. I
Like
think one of the
you're
biggest
sick.
things. I think one of the biggest things that we look at when you look at Nashville, not Nashville, Colorado too. Every single one of these players had a really good season. And Burakovsky, 61 points. Obviously, we're going to talk about the big guys. Rantanen, 92, McKinnon, 88, Nazem Kadri, who had a career year with 87. And then you have Kale McCarr with 86, Burakovsky with 61, Gabriel Landeskog with 59 and 51 games, but he's out indefinitely and most likely misses the playoffs. But one guy that I was very disappointed with, that I thought should have had a better year, but actually his deep defensive teammate had a better year. Devin Tays had 57 points in 66 games. He was fantastic, but Sam Gerard had a disappointing season this
And
year,
I think he's going to get traded in the offseason, but
and
that's
that's
something to talk
something,
about when the offseason comes.
and that's something that I think for Colorado fans, it's something that they should be okay with because Bowen Byram, 30 games played this year, 5 goals, 12 assists, 17 points in 30 games for a
Pretty
20-year-old
impressive.
defenseman. He's gonna be the next man up, and I think that for Colorado, it's going to make Sam Girard expendable during the offseason. But even during the playoffs now, they have the best decor in the league, in my opinion, in terms of just pure defensemen um, in their lineup. But there was one move that I really liked that they made, and obviously we talked about it at the trade deadline, but we're going to talk about it here.
Terry
Arturi
Lekkonen, baby.
Lehkonen going
Mr.
to
Saint
the
Jean Baptiste.
yeah, well, Arturi Lehkonen going to the Colorado Avalanche from the Montreal Canadiens. This guy's a playoff performer. We saw what he did for the Canadiens last year and how important he was. He's going to play a big and important role for the Colorado Avalanche moving forward, and I think that's going to be a huge help for them. So, yeah, especially in this series too, against a Nashville team like this, and when you need big goals. So, I think Colorado is going to be in a good position. For me, I think it's a clear win here. I think Colorado is going to do this in 4 or 5 games. I don't see this going any more than that. Even if Saros comes back, I think maybe he steals one potentially, but we'll
Well,
see. I think
when are they saying he's gonna be potentially coming
he
back for?
might be back for game 3,
Okay, so I mean,
but
You
still,
know,
you
what's a
lose.
guy who actually impresses me a lot that really flew under the radar this year? Two guys actually in Colorado, Burakovsky and Nichushkin. Nichushkin had 52 points in 62 games, and Burakovsky had 61 points in
I
82
never
games.
understood why that guy Burakovsky never gets the credit that he deserves. I find he's gonna be if they don't re-sign him next season, I feel like he'd be a big player that they'd miss on that team. I
Well, look,
mean, Nazem
Nazem
Kadri
Kadri
also
is
being one
is
of them.
definitely going to leave. He's a UFA, and a lot of teams are going to throw a lot of money at him. And kudos to him; he deserves it. 87 points in 71 games. But we made a cup or bust video for both teams, for Nashville and Colorado, because Colorado is a team that always on paper had a fantastic team, but always failed to reach or meet expectations or surpass expectations. And time is ticking. Burakovsky's a UFA. Kadri's a UFA. They're never gonna. This is the most stacked team since they were a dynasty in the late '90s and early 2000s. This is one of their best teams. In terms of like having the depth, on defense and on offense, and even goaltending. Frank Hoots and Cooper as a duo is very, I would say, pretty solid, to be honest. I really like that. A lot of people were like, Kemper, you know, he had a slow start. He didn't put up that great numbers, but like if you look at his stats after that, pretty impressive for both. His save percentage 9.921 for Kemper, and Frank Hoots point 916, which is really impressive for a team that scores a lot. You would think they also allow a lot of goals, but they're pretty solid defensively. And I know Devin Taves is more known for his offensive ability. Same thing with McCarr, and same thing with Gerard. But like, I don't know. I just really like this team, and you have both Johnsons as well, who are they're more defensive, but they also have some offensive upside as well. And you have Bowen Byram as well. Like, they have a good mesh of veteran presence and youth, and we could say that a lot about a lot of teams in this year's playoffs, where there's a good mix of youth and veteran presence. But this team is absolutely stacked. You have Terry Lekkinen, who's having his best offensive year in terms of points, but also he's known for a defensive guy, a shutdown guy, and he was very crucial for Montreal against Vegas in that series, scoring the winning goal in OT in Game 6 to eliminate Vegas to head to the Stanley Cup Finals since '93. So I mean, like, look, this team is built to win. They're a playoff team. They're a championship team in my eyes. And there's no doubt in my mind that
So
Colorado beats
I mean,
Nashville.
listen, they have an easy road compared to other teams in the playoffs. I think the only team that could compete with them is Calgary in the West. But whoever they face in the East is gonna be is gonna be just I think slightly better. Like I find the Rangers with is a better team, to be honest. I think the Florida Panthers is a better team. Tampa Bay is a sick team. Even if Toronto, God, hopefully they make it past the first round.
but
They're a great team too.
can
So
I
yeah, go ahead.
can I just say something? So really quickly, Vegas is out of the playoffs, which is kind of funny because Colorado's kryptonite is Vegas. They've struggled to beat Vegas in the playoffs, so at least they don't have to worry about that.
It's like
Which
it's
might
like the Raptors,
which
LeBron was their
might
weakness.
benefit
Then
them.
he switches conference, and then they finally
That's
win
it. So
the NBA
so I think
championship.
this is Colorado. This is Colorado's chance now. They don't have Vegas to deal with, so they can.
Oh, they got to deal with Calgary at some point.
No, I know,
If
but
That'll
that
be a
happens.
I'm
Western
saying
Conference matchup, if
I'm saying
anything.
that Colorado can avoid Vegas because Vegas beat them the last couple of years, and so it's been pretty funny to kind of see them lose to Vegas, and now they don't have to play them because they're not even in the playoffs.
Well,
I
look,
honestly, I wonder what they're gonna do if they do win. I mean, good for them. I mean, they deserve it, right? They're the favorites. But I mean, if they lose, I mean, there's gonna be something's gonna happen. I don't know if Joe Sakic's gonna like. I don't think he's gonna get fired.
I think you fire the coach.
But coach is definitely getting fired. They're gonna move one of the big guys. It's not gonna be McKinnon and Ratnan. I think Landeskog
Well, I
needs
think
to
Chris
leave.
mentioned it before that Sam Gerard is a guy that I think they trade.
Yeah,
yeah,
but Sam Gerard is he that much of an important piece to the team compared to one of the big three
Well, he's
guys?
still young. He's 23 still,
yeah,
and
a team would take him. To be honest, he was part of the Matt Duchene deal, which is funny because Matt Duchene is facing Colorado, the team that drafted him, and that's gonna be pretty interesting how he holds up against them. But with the main three, Rantanen, Landeskog, and McKinnon, they made the playoffs 5 years consecutively since 2018, and in 2018 they lost against Nashville, 4-2. So I mean, this is the first time since 2018 these teams are facing each other, but this time Colorado has a lot of backup compared to Nashville, and this is not going to go uh, in Nashville's favor, in my opinion. And
I'm just gonna say this now. I think Colorado wins in 4 or 5. I'm gonna go 4.
if
I'm gonna go
Saros is
Colorado
there,
by
I
4.
think they could put up a fight, and he could help them win 2 games.
Yeah,
So
but
in
even if he
6 games,
does come back like so soon, you think he's gonna be like ready?
I don't know if he's gonna be. I don't know. the injury he sustained was pretty bad in my opinion. It was something had to do with something with the leg. And I think they're just like trying to rush him to come back
It's a
because they
good
know that
diagnostics, Chris. Something with the leg.
something with the leg.
Imagine
Um,
that. Imagine their doctors like, yeah, I mean, I'm injured, man. What is it? Something to do with the leg, man. I don't know what. I don't know what to tell you. Give it 3 weeks.
Chris said it had something to do with the leg, so I'm assuming it's the leg.
But I don't think. I think even with Saros and Nets, I mean, they're still gonna get swept. Sadly,
I think they're gonna switch.
that's just what it's the luck of where you fall. At the end of the season, and
it's
we
just the
so happen.
firepower they have, and like on offense and on defense, man. Makar, Devin Taves, man, they're deadly, man. They're not guys that just play like some defensive game and they're just like a shutdown defenseman. You're hard to pass through. These guys are gonna score goals. These guys are gonna create plays, and their power play. Don't even get me started on Colorado's power play. Like Jesus
They're great.
Christ.
Everything about Colorado's great. So I think
Fourth in the league in terms of their for goals scored for Colorado. So you already have a glimpse of how offensive this team is. Their power play seventh in the league, so top 10. Yeah, I would have thought they were a little bit better than that, but again, Colorado has something to prove. They
yeah,
got bounced
for
early
sure.
the last couple of times they made the playoffs in the last 5 years. They're either the favorites, I would say, or the second favorites, unless you want to include Florida. But both those teams are stacked offensively and defensively. And I know people are probably scared about Kemper. Don't worry about it. I've seen Kemper play on a shit team called the Arizona Coyotes, and he
Cool.
was one of the glimpses of hope that team had in terms of success. And him going to Colorado, it wasn't the great start that he was hoping for, but
Never heard
definitely,
about that team before. But
but
sounds like a
definitely,
team with 5,000 people
he picked
watching.
up his game. And
Oh,
if he's not doing well, Francouz is a solid fringe starter in my opinion, and they're in good hands. They're in good hands.
Yeah,
I just wanted to say, don't forget to check out our Cupper Bus video for Colorado and for Nashville. And in terms of Nashville, why we did a Cupper Bus video for them, it's because there's a good chance that Philip Forsberg is going to walk, and that's a very key piece to lose. And
well, I mean, last I heard, I think he was staying.
yeah, we'll see how that goes in the off season. But we don't know if Matt Duchene and Johansson are going to keep up this production past this season. Maybe they go back to putting up the same points they did the last couple of years, which were pretty bad for the contract that they signed. So maybe they become buyout candidates. But there's also potential that these two guys might get traded now because they actually have a lot of value. Johansson had over 50 points this year, and Duchesne scored over 40 goals. So, I mean, pretty impressive. And Forsberg scored over 40 goals. So, his value on the market's going to be pretty high. And there's a lot of teams that are rebuilding, retooling that have
yeah.
the money to like drop on a guy like that. And finding elite snipers like that in the league are pretty rare, and especially on the left side nowadays. Um, yeah, so check out those bus videos, the Colorado Avalanche and the Nashville Predators. Pretty interesting series as well. You can check out the other ones. We have concluded our matchups for the first round, so you guys could check out that series. You're gonna have to wait a little longer for the second round because I think there's gonna be a lot of close matchups heading to 6 or 7 games. Not this one though. So make sure to check that out as well. And any content we posted, the content's pretty solid, I would say, for average Joes like ourselves. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and we're making a Vegas video on why they failed to make the playoffs sometime this week. So look out for that. And we're also live streaming the lottery draft. And we hope that our hometown team could win the lottery since they're the worst team in the league. And yeah, that's going to be interesting. The Montreal Canadiens, for you guys that are wondering. And I just want to say hi to Leon Draisaitl, who was in the chat. Good luck on your playoff run against LA. Hopefully, you guys win that. Hello to Alexander Romanov's cousin,
Ivan.
Ivan. And hello to JT Miller. We hope you have a fantastic offseason. Anyways, guys, we'll see you on the next episode. Until then,